think through a lot of contingency plans about different things you can experiment with this scale. And don't just say, oh, okay, we need to hit this metric before we can even try to figure out scaling. Start early. And test things out and fail and perform these small experiments to learn. Trying to figure out experiments about what can actually help early and often is super important.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring the innovators, disruptors, and creators who are making things happen. My name is Michael T. Johnson, and I'm here with my co-host, Tyler Kelly. Today, we're at Venture Cafe St. Louis. Venture Cafe is the largest gathering of entrepreneurs anywhere in the world on a Thursday evening all around the world. So if you're into that kind of thing, I suggest you check it out. Today, we have Andrew Glantz on the show with us. Andrew, thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
So Andrew is the founder and CEO of GiftAMeal, which is a mix of restaurant marketing and giving back. He was the youngest person named to St. Louis Business Journal's 30 Under 30 list. And prior to GiftAMeal, Andrew ran a nonprofit storefront that promoted reuse and sustainability, and he served as vice president of a children's charity that raised over $300,000 during his 4 years on the board. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for the kind intro.
So, that seems like quite a bit to accomplish in the nonprofit world for someone who I assume is fairly young and not been around that business for a long time. So tell us how you got started in nonprofit and why that's such an interest to you.
Yeah, of course. So, I think it's been something important to me throughout my entire life, the way I was raised and what makes me happy and just kind of my inclination towards other people and what I think we all have an obligation for one another to do. And so I think that since I feel very fortunate in my life, I want to always make sure that I'm giving back and that everybody deserves to have a good life. And so ever since I was little, I'd wanted to look at how I could give back. And you mentioned the nonprofit I was involved in that when I was on the board. So I was actually in high school and we formed a board called Junior Variety for a subset of the Big Variety charity. And we were able to raise over $300,000 as high schoolers. So that was really cool. And then when I came to college, I wanted to look at how I can continue that and became a co-owner of a nonprofit storefront to promote reuse and sustainability. And then I worked at a venture capital firm over the summer, and there I kind of got the taste through one of the advisors of a Profits with a Purpose company. So I saw that it wasn't just nonprofits that could make a difference, but for-profits, and that was part of what led me to GiftAMeal as a for-profit social venture.
So it sounds like you might be really good at asking people for money.
Yeah, all with the purpose of it. I think whether you're asking people for money as investors or to support a nonprofit or a cause or to participate in an event or for doing sales in general, something that's important to do and approaching it with confidence, knowing that what you're doing is either making a big impact or is going to provide them value in return.
So let's dig into that a little bit because and we know that one of the things that you do has to do with marketing in addition to like kind of the nonprofit stuff. So what is it that makes someone want to latch onto a nonprofit or that sort of thing and actually give to them?
Yeah, I think that it's having something that's really tangible as a result of it. Like a lot of nonprofits do this very well, where they say, if you give $10, then that's going to supply school lunches for this kid for 3 days. Or if you give $25, that's going to give 3 bags of groceries for this family for this week, or something that's tangible for somebody to connect their mind to so that they get that full feel-good effect of what they're doing. So that's something that's important. And then I also think it's just removing barriers to make it really easy to give. Like a lot of the times, like if I asked you guys right now, hey, would you donate $5 to Operation Food Search? At first you might be like, yeah, I think the cause is cool, but maybe not right now, like just out of the blue. But if you actually step back and think about it, that $5 you're probably not going to miss in your bank account. If it just disappeared, it wouldn't affect your quality of life at all. And so I think removing barriers to make it easier for people to give is something that's really important. If I could just click a button and give that $5, it'd be a lot easier than having to go enter my credit card information on a website to give. And so that combination of having it be a tangible return or the reward or the feel-good impact of what you're doing, in addition to making it easy and removing barriers, I think are the two most important things with giving.
So tell us a little bit more about how GiftAMeal works specifically. what does GiftAMeal actually do?
Yeah. So restaurants are paying us a monthly subscription to be on our mobile app. And it's a free app for people to download. And each time they take a photo at one of those participating restaurants on our app, we make a monetary donation to a local food bank that helps cover the cost of giving a meal to someone in need in the community. So the way that breaks down, restaurants pay us $49 to $149 a month. With each photo, we make an 11 to 23 cent donation to the food bank, which covers that refrigeration, transportation, and labor cost of getting one meal that's donated by supermarkets and food trucks and things like that to over 300 local pantries in the greater St. Louis area.
I was just going to say, we're big believers in a purpose beyond profit, and that's really at the foundation. GiftAMeal is purpose first and then profit next, right? So tell me about how you're able to be profitable when you put purpose first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that by being purpose driven, it really orients us as a company and our team. And then it also really just helps get all stakeholders to be wanting to help one another out. So whether our restaurants or our users or our investors or our people on our team, we all have that extra level of intrinsic motivation. So that's something that I think is really important. And then in terms of how that's fueling the profit side of things, I think that giving back is one of the biggest incentives. So if we were giving people a 5% discount to go to a restaurant, it might not mean that much at the end of the day. But by changing someone's perception of that business to be socially conscious and increase their customer satisfaction is something that's a lot bigger of an incentive. And so at the end of the day, we're still profitable with this because we're donating about 20% of revenue. Those 11 to 23 cent donations add up. The 20% of the revenue paid by the restaurants is donated. So from a for-profit angle, that's 80% margins. From the impact side of things, we're a for-profit company donating 20%, where there's a lot of startups that are doing great things for the community by taking the 1% pledge of donating 1% of their revenue, but we're donating 20%. So big impact, but also we're able to sustain it and be profitable.
I love how you're able to create a business based on giving back. What came first, the idea for the business or the idea to figure out how to give back, if you will, and then the business came out? Like, which one came first?
Identified the problem in the restaurant industry of trying to reach customers and engage them. And then I was talking with another intern at that venture capital firm internship that I was at. And we were talking about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge and how people give back and how people want to be super easy, but sometimes people aren't giving, they're just posting. And we thought, what if posting and donating could be one and the same? And we were connecting these different trends of food photos at restaurants and millennials wanting to give back but not wanting to put in the time, and the restaurants not being able to access customer bases easily and reach millennials and engage in a new way, and found GiftAMeal to be the solution to those problems.
So I'm curious, like, how else does GiftAMeal, the app or whatever, how else does it benefit a restaurant as well, besides just being kind of associated with the giving and things like that? Is there advertising? Is there, like, how does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, the branding and give back element is great. Some restaurants are like, sweet, sign me up at that point. But also, we are marketing for that restaurant. So we have 25,000 people plus on the app, and they're looking at GiftAMeal to discover which restaurants to eat at. And so we can help drive traffic. Then we've also seen that customers that use GiftAMeal are returning more frequently to those restaurants. So they're more loyal, they spend more per check, and they tip more. So for instance, with one of our partner restaurants, Rich and Charlie's, that's 2 locations on GiftAMeal, they gave us access to all of their point of sale data. So every time someone swiped a credit card, pulling how much they spent, tipped, etc. And we were able to match that to our GiftAMeal user base based on the name on the credit card and the name of the GiftAMeal user's account. And we saw the customers that use GiftAMeal spent 24% more per check on average, returned 45% more frequently, and tipped 14% higher. And so those were real business returns outside of the give back component that were generated by GiftAMeal. We also, so if we give a meal if somebody takes a photo on the app, but also if a user shares that photo on Facebook or Instagram, we give a second or third meal as well. And users do that, depending on the restaurant, about 20 to 25% of the time. And those photos get on average 428 impressions. So then we're generating content for the restaurant that's being posted by their customers. So we're effectively creating brand ambassadors for the restaurant. So that's a lot of stuff to spew at you, but basically,
I love it.
We're branding for them, we're give back, helping drive traffic, increase value of current customers, and then get their customers to promote them.
Yeah, but those stats don't. I mean, those stats are pretty good. I would, if I were a restaurant owner, I would want those customers.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And I mean, the lowest plan's $49 a month. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
we basically just want to have as many happy restaurants right now as possible as we look to scale this thing up. And as I said, we're still able to be profitable with it. And so this is something that could be both very scalable. And then also, if we hit our goals over the course of the next 3 to 5 years, we'd be able to fund the entirety of Operation Food Search's food distribution budget, feeding over 200,000 children, teens, and adults per year. So that would be very cool for us to hit.
So switch gears a little bit and talk about St. Louis. This is where GiftAMeal was founded. So tell me about just St. Louis as an ecosystem for startup businesses and your experience with it.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been in St. Louis 6 years now, and in the startup world about 4 years. And already when I arrived, the scene was starting to grow. But even in the last 4 years, it's exponentially taken off. There's tons of support in the St. Louis startup ecosystem, from entrepreneur to entrepreneur to the venture capital firms, accelerators, support agencies like I-10, things like Venture Cafe, grants like Arch Grants. So all these, there's a lot of institutional support as well as individuals that are willing to help out, and everybody's never more than 3 connections away in terms of asking for introductions or seeking help. A lot of good mentorship, and then the physical spaces have come a long way as well, with renovations in T-Rex and their co-working space, and in Cortex with the 4220 building, which we work out of now. And so it's just been really amazing to see everything take off more and more, and everybody in the St. Louis ecosystem is really open to kind of this new wave of entrepreneurship, of being very metrics based, and kind of taking that Silicon Valley mindset and applying it in St. Louis, while also, I think, allowing startups to take the pedal off the metal a little bit and grow a little bit more organically, rather than saying either scale or fail. So I think that there's a really supportive ecosystem in St. Louis that allows startups to grow. And there's a lot of startups, I think, that are coming to St. Louis through these accelerators and Arch Grants and things like that will stick around.
So in terms of like St. Louis's embrace of social impact business or causes, like, what's your impression of how easy it is to say, you know, I have a business that is making a social impact? How easy is it to get people on to, you know, that wavelength in St. Louis? Easier than somebody doing a standard for-profit, which might be counterintuitive to some people, and other markets might not be this way. Yeah, not that anything with GiftAMeal has ever been easy, but I think that people have been super willing to help. And we haven't had, I mean, there's always some investors that are like, oh, I'm not sure if you're going to care more about the impact than my wallet, and so I don't know if I want to invest in you, and that's fine. But I think that in St. Louis, we raised an angel round back in October with 9 different angel investors in it. And all of them were perfectly on board with what we are doing. They want a return on their investment, but they also want to make an impact. And so it was very easy to find like-minded people in that respect that saw the power of having purpose in the business rather than treating it as a detriment to the company. So you mentioned Rich and Charlie's and a couple of locations that are using the app. Mm-hmm. Have you branched out of St. Louis yet, or are you still kind of using this as a testing ground? How far out have you gone, and how many meals have you given away? Like all that good stuff. Yeah, good question. So right now we're in St. Louis, Chicago, and Detroit. And we're looking at different routes of expanding into new markets. We currently have over 150 restaurants and over 25,000 people on the app, and have given over 300,000 meals to those in need so far. And each meal is 1.2 pounds of food. So if you try to imagine that in your head, it's like a couple airplanes worth of food, of like the weight of the airplane. And Operation Food Search likes to use the analogy of, if you looked at the amount of food they're giving to the number of people, it's enough to fill Busch Stadium filled to capacity 4 to 6 times. Now, do you keep the recipients of the gifted meals local to, like, around the restaurants? Like, how's that work?
Yeah, so it's all local in the neighborhoods of our partner restaurants. So in St. Louis, we work with Operation Food Search, and they have over 300 local partner agencies and food banks in the area that they distribute food to. And they're all over from North County to the Hill to Clayton, like everywhere. And yeah, so the food's going everywhere that people can actually access it in their neighborhoods, because one of the big problems with hunger is that somebody can't access healthy food in their area. They live in a food desert. And so even if somebody has a job and a house or an apartment, they get off work and there's no supermarket for them to get healthy food. So they take their kid to McDonald's, or they still don't have enough money at the end of the day and they need something to supplement it. And so we want to make sure that we're helping in the areas where people can actually access the food and it can make a difference. And we're not adding another barrier where they have to like go drive somewhere really far off or take a bus to try to access this food.
So what do you have coming up for GiftAMeal? Is there anything exciting, changes, growth, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of exciting things happening lately. We brought on 2 full-time employees with our head of partnerships and development, Doug, and we brought Brian on as our chief technology officer. So before I was overseeing development, which I'm very happy to have off my plate now. And yeah, we furthered our partnership with Operation Food Search with the Tomato Explosion event in July to help do a fundraiser for them with over 100 restaurants. And so that was very cool. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new features we're testing out internally, and then we're also performing user surveys and restaurant surveys to figure out ways to provide more value to those markets. We're also looking at ways that we could build up referral programs so that when there's these advocates in these other markets that really want to be that ambassador to bring GiftAMeal to Cincinnati or Buffalo or San Francisco or LA or North Dakota, wherever, that they have the ability to go to their to the restaurants in their community and go to the food banks and say, hey, you guys need to be a part of GiftAMeal. We've had people reach out, and like last week we had the head of development of the Northwest Arkansas Food Bank reach out to us, and we haven't really done anything with that yet. We said, okay, like we'll keep it on the list until we go to you. But we're looking at a referral program where we could build in some incentives to really help people bring this nationwide.
Wow, it's an interesting challenge, because with us being in a digital world, like you could potentially take this nationwide without having boots in the ground in every city.
Exactly.
So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now is what is the best way for us to do that without boots on the grounds? Can we do it in that way? Are there things we're not thinking about? And so really the next year is figuring out and experimenting how we can scale, and then taking those learnings and implementing it so that, knock on wood, hopefully a couple years down the road, we are a nationwide company.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit, the scale idea, because I think for a lot of entrepreneurs or people that are starting things, scaling is always that big challenge. So what have you learned that you can share that might be a help to somebody who's been in the same place? Yeah,
I mean, the pessimistic thought is don't put all your eggs in one basket of the way you think that you're going to scale, because you might run into unforeseen challenges of things that are more complicated. So I'd say rather think through a lot of contingency plans about different things you can experiment with to scale, and don't just say, oh, okay, we need to hit this metric before we can even try to figure out scaling. Start early. And test things out and fail and perform these small experiments to learn. Because otherwise, if you're waiting and you're just planning on, okay, we know we're going to get this influencer to post about us that's going to get all of these other restaurants to join because like we got the head person at Top Chef to tweet about us. Like that might yield nothing. And so trying to figure out experiments about what can actually help early and often is super important.
So what comes first? Is it the user base in those areas or the restaurants?
Restaurants. Yeah. For us, we give restaurants promotional materials. And so we've seen that, like for instance, even in St. Louis, Greg's Bar and Grill is a restaurant that's a part of GiftAMeal, and it's pretty much the farthest restaurant away from any of our other partners in terms of miles, but they are consistently one of the top 5 or 10 restaurants out of over 150 each month in terms of number of people using the app, because they have table tents up at the restaurant. So those little triangular things on the table, and then people see it and they use it, and they get loyal customers to come out there that are on GiftAMeal. And so for us, we just need to get the restaurants involved, and then we give them the tools to promote it in order to make it successful for their restaurant.
That's cool. I'm almost thinking like a Live Nation. You know how it's like you want to request this artist to come to St. Louis?
Mm-hmm.
You should do that. Like just, I want to request GiftAMeal to come to this restaurant.
Yeah.
As a user.
Yeah, so that's actually a feature that we're looking into right now, is the possibility of having, and who knows, we might do this, might not. We're looking into it.
Yeah.
So no promises, but we're looking into a way where users can take a photo at any restaurant, and then if they're not on GiftAMeal, it's a pending meal. And once the restaurant joins, then that meal will be gifted. So that way the restaurant could see, oh wow, 100 people have taken a photo on GiftAMeal, and they'll all get a notification once I join that their meal was gifted. Like, that's an awesome positive touch point to have with all those customers. So yeah, it's something we're looking into where it could just become habitual for people and really use our user base in order to get all those restaurants involved.
So 5 years from now, you're breaking through all the barriers. What does it look like for you and for GiftAMeal?
5 years as an entrepreneur, 5 years is infinity.
What's the dream?
The dream.
Yeah.
I mean, the dream is that we could be a nationwide company, and that is, I mean, it's tough to say the number of markets for 5 years on the road, but if we were in 20 different full markets where we had significant numbers of restaurants, say we had at least 100 restaurants in 20 markets, then we could be able to fund the distribution of food for like the entire distribution budgets of all these different food banks, be supporting all of these major restaurants around the country, and be building a company with integrity that shows the model of what profits for a purpose really means, and that it can be successful, and that doing well and doing good are not contradictory.
I love it. Andrew, how can people get in touch with you on social, GiftAMeal, all of the above?
Can email me at andrew@giftameal.com. You can look at our website at giftameal.com. Restaurants can email me if they want more info about how to join. If you want to download the app, go to the App Store or Play Store. It's free. Type in GiftAMeal and they'll show up. If somebody wants to follow GiftAMeal, facebook.com/GiftAMeal, instagram.com/GiftAMeal, or just type in @GiftAMeal, or twitter.com/GiftAMeal, or linkedin.com GiftAMeal. So GiftAMeal all the way around.
Yeah. Andrew, thanks for being on and sharing with us. It sounds like just sounds like a really cool idea, and it's great to hear about it.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you guys.
Andrew.
For more episodes, visit innovationcity.co. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're in St. Louis, visit us on a Thursday night. Details at vincafstl.org. And connect with us on social at WeAreSlam or at Venture Cafe STL. Thanks for listening.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where